lot of people will start on violin and then switch to viola, the reason being that the size of the viola is tougher when somebody isn't a particularly big person, like a kid who's starting an instrument. Technically, the main differences are in the left hand, the spacing of the fingers is wider on the viola, so it can just feel harder to reach. And then with the bow, I think the main difference I notice is just the need to really use more arm weight to kind of pull out a bigger sound out of the viola. It takes more effort to produce a basic sound on the viola. The fingerboard of the viola is also longer than the fingerboard of the violin. That's a big part of why the finger spacing feels like it's a bit wider on the viola. The string length is longer on the viola than it is on the violin. And finally, the string thicknesses are a bit more on the viola because of its lower register, especially that lowest string that's not on the violin, the C string. Once you've found the right bow and gotten used to that difference, one is not necessarily much harder than the other. Typically, the violin lends itself to fast virtuosic playing in a way that is a little bit tougher technically to achieve on the viola. It's not impossible, and many people do that well, but the small size of the violin lends itself more naturally to sort of fast virtuosic high register playing. The viola, most of the reason that most people, including myself, gravitate towards the instrument is the sound. The specific sound and the voice of the instrument has a lower, in my mind, more human vocal quality. And I think part of the technique of playing the instrument becomes very sound-oriented in a way that I really identify with. So a lot of people wonder if it's possible to be equally proficient on violin and viola, and I think the answer is yes. You just need to spend time playing both instruments pretty regularly to feel that way. The good news is that the technique is essentially identical, and it's just a matter of familiarity with the different sizes of the instrument, but usually within a pretty short amount of time of going back and forth from one instrument to the other, you can feel like you're physically comfortable on the instrument without too much of an adjustment period. A lot of people try to be proficient in both instruments because it gives you more of a variety in the way that you have your relationship with playing an instrument. If somebody's trying to figure out or just get used to playing the viola after violin or vice versa, I like to recommend starting with something very slow and sort of controlled, like a scale is the most sort of obvious thing. And then also just taking a piece that you know really well on one instrument and playing that same piece on the other instrument. That usually ends up being a nice way to just make it easier for yourself to adjust to the physics of playing the different instrument.